It changes. Okay. If you can hear those changes, and people say, well, I can't hear those changes. Well, I say you can hear them if you start working on hearing them. And a great way to do it is if you know a song really well on the radio, let's say an old 50s rock or whatever you know, is try to pretend that you know the key. Pick any key that you, let's say you C. The C is the basic key. And say, okay, the song's in C. And then try to hear the changes that go on in that song. Hopefully it'll be a simple three-chord rock song or something. And you'll be surprised the more you do it, you're going to be able to hear these things. And to play by ear, you've got to hear those changes, and you can hear them coming. You don't have to wait, because you're singing along and everybody's smiling, and you could be thinking ahead, what's the next chord? And that's a key thing, that you are ready. Now, in typical three-chord songs, you got a 50-50 chance. You got one out of the way, you're going to hit one of the other two, and if you hit the wrong one, you go to the third one. So you usually come out pretty...
Process of elimination.
Well, for example, happy birthday to you, hope you... Okay, so it goes to the third chord, but not the second. Now, where it gets exciting is a minor chord. And I admit, I have trouble with the minors, because if you're in the key of C, the key of C is C, F, and G, and the relative minor is A minor. So you got... Okay, well, but E minor also fits in there, and D minor fits in that chord, in the key of C. So, my tip on that is if you may be not able to hear it, because minors can be more subtle. Get ready to hit the chord you think, and if it doesn't go, then go with the other chord. And if that doesn't work, then there's always, and I'll show you, I'll digress for a second. I finally looked it up. Phil Spector did To Know Him Is to Love Him. The Teddy Bears did that, and he wrote that song. And he's probably still getting residuals till he goes to jail, but anyway. That's in C, and the bridge goes into E flat, and I'm going, how does that fit in? Well, it does fit in, because if you're in C up here, you go up 4. So it does make sense, but in the old days I thought it doesn't make any sense. So I go to a party, and of course we're doing that song, and I'm thinking the bridge is coming, and I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just stopped, and we did a cappella for a little break. You know? And I waited until I could hear when he came back down to the G7, and they all thought, you know,
it's a great dramatic applause too.
Exactly, right? You can fake people out instead of trying to embarrass yourself. So that's another trick. But if you're always thinking ahead, and if you haven't done it, you go, well, how can you be thinking ahead when you're singing? Well, you know, we do this in daily life. You're driving down the road, you drove 4 hours, you don't even remember you were driving, so you can do this stuff, you know. So that's another trick. I think in the case of Happy Birthday, another thing I wanted to share with you, so if you're playing by ear, one thing that will kill a song is if you're in the wrong key. And I used to, in the old days, play with people that would play in their bedroom, and they would, and let's use Happy Birthday as an example, and they're singing it in C, so they go, Happy Birthday to you. Boy, it sounds great. Dad comes in and says, son, you're doing great, you know. Well, you go to a party with a big crowd, you're going, and then nobody can hear you, and it dies, okay? When you, and I don't know if you've all done this, and of course, you got to be flexible. You got to play in a couple of keys. Well, I can tell you, if you can play in C, G, and maybe E, you can cover almost everybody's vocal range. So it's not going to be, it's not going to be that difficult to say, well, move it in another key. And I don't mean you have to slide up 2, or you just, if it's in C, and that was too low, right? So we'll say, okay, we'll try G. Now G is much higher, and if you're singing in your bedroom by yourself, somebody's going to say, calm down, you know, turn it down, it's too, you know. But in a party with a bunch of people, it's absolutely the perfect key. So we went from Happy Birthday to you. Now we're going to go to G. Happy Birthday to you. You know, and now you really, and now the song doesn't die. And that is, in my estimation, the one thing that, now the trio stuff, it's not, because we know where the keys are. So. But if you're at a party and somebody says, do, you know, such and such, and you know the song, but you're really not sure of the key, or you're not sure what the crowd's going to sing. You started and if the song's dying, you've got to usually go up. No, most people don't tell you to go down. And that's a great tip if you're doing sing-alongs, because not only will the song die, you'll lose the crowd because nobody's going to want to sing. And you're almost better being a little too high than not high enough. And I'll end in a second with with a demonstration song that I was singing too, that I did a little bit last time.
BK, could I have a question? I hear people talk all the time, and they'll say, well, go to the 3, or go to the 4, or go to the 5, or something like that. This is where I don't understand how that works and what you're talking about. So if you're starting off in a C or a G, how does a typical happy birthday to you go? If G is the 1 chord, then what is the second chord that you play in that song when
Okay. Yeah, Tom, that's the way Tom Lamb talks, and I admit the old way. I learned that the chord was the tonic, and you have the dominant, the tonic, and the subdominant, which is 3 chords. And it's the 1-5-7 or 1-3-5?
1-4-5.
1-4-5. Okay. Which is just a way of telling you, for example, if you're an open, you got 1, then 4, then 5, which is 2 up from there.